Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I'm going to explore the Blender Compositing Nodes. This is actually one area, another area apart from like a Sverchok Nodes add-on or Animation Nodes add-on that I'm actually interested in. So Blender Compositing, and there's also Blender Cycles Material Nodes. But for now, it's just Blender Compositing, and I wanted to focus on this path index of an object. You can see here, basically I have this scene setup, just very simple setup, 4 cubes, a floor, and then for the cube objects, I actually have this path index being assigned to the objects. So for these two objects, I have path index of 1, and this guy actually have path index of 2, and the floor itself has path index of 3. And so what is path index? Basically, from what I understand, it's basically related to the alpha information of the object. And here I have a simple example where I render this scene from the camera, and then I'm actually making sure the camera actually render out the path index information. So I have this camera, and I'm turning on this object index. By turning that on, when we render the scene, we're gonna have this extra output from render layers. So you can see here the rendered scene is um, actually gray. I don't have any color here, and I'm actually coloring each and every object using this path index thing. And this is how actually I'm doing it. Let me just make this full screen. So render layers, and then I'm using this ID mask node. And this node actually, I'm specifying index number 3, which is the floor, number 2, number 1, which is the pair of cubes. And for each one of them, I'm giving it a color via multiplier. So this is the color, and I'm just simply multiplying it with the original image here. If I'm actually using Control Shift I, actually that will kind of connect it to the viewer nodes. You can see the result. So that's the first one, which is the floor. I'm coloring the floor, and then the second one I'm coloring that pair of cubes, and another one. So combine all of them together, and we get this image. So I found that very interesting, and in fact I'm actually able to change the color of those objects and floor very easily. There's a slight like a pixel problem there, here and there. Maybe what I'm doing is not like 100% perfect in terms of compositing, but what I'm interested in is how you can kind of randomize the color of these three objects of this multiplier nodes using Sverchok nodes. So that's actually very new for me, and I didn't know that this is possible. But well, anyway, let's dig inside it. First of all, for me to get to these compositor nodes, I have to show you something. This is like a kind of like a gotcha. If I'm actually changing the color here, you see in the history, you can see there is a bpy.data node groups compositing node 3. This is actually slightly incorrect in terms of data blocks, in terms of data address. If you want to use a Blender Python in order to get to this address, you cannot go there. That's actually kind of wrong. You need to go there. If you try anyway, like you go to bpy.data node groups and try to get to that items, you will not get it. You see, there's a node 3, there's a node groups called node 3, and there's also node 3.001, which is this Sverchok one. I have animation nodes with that name, node 3. But we don't have these bpy.data node groups compositing node 3. That's actually so that's actually wrong. This data block is a little bit misleading. So in order to get to the compositing nodes, you need to instead go to bpy.data.scenes, scene, and nodes, node 3, and this is actually the one that you want. So that's the compositing node 3, and by going there, you can then kind of look at the items collections. You can see all the nodes and do things like that. Once you get these informations, it's actually pretty easy to bring it into Sverchok. So that's exactly what I'm doing here using Sverchok. So bpy.data scenes, I can do that very easily using object ID selector. And the next one, of course, the node 3 library, and that's actually this Blender compositing. We are digging inside the nodes, into the nodes, and we're gonna grab all the nodes. This is how you do it. And then I'm using this object ID filter. Here I'm using object ID set, okay? One time, second time, and then this one is actually special. This is filtering all the nodes by its name. In this case, I want to get into this multiply nodes, which is actually a mixer node. You see, this is the multiplier, but the actual name is mix. So mix 001, mix 002, and I can filter that out using this object ID filter, and we can check it out here. Actually, yeah, I think this should actually update itself. But anyway, object ID mix, filter out all the nodes with the names mix, so I can get into these nodes. And now I want to get into this this color slot, which is actually some kind of image input, but we can get into the color via its default value. That's the name of the parameter. So once I get that information, it's very, very easy. I just pass in like a random color, RGBA, and we get this result. I can just randomize the seed, and I get all kind of different colors for the pair of cubes and then the floor. So I found this really, really interesting, and in fact, the path index of the objects is also kind of interesting in itself. For example, if you have like you have a camera, even camera has some kind of path index, because camera is an object and somehow it has path index, and you can actually kind of use this this parameter to control the path index of the objects. For example, if you want to control the visibility or render visibility for objects, turning on and off, maybe you have like a multiple version of the objects, you can kind of set it up so that if you have camera A with path index 0, and then you have, if other objects have path index of 0, you want to render it out or not. So that's the idea basically. In order to change the path index all at the same time, there's this trick I want to show you before I close this video. We know that if you have like a multiple objects and you want to move it together at the same time using this parameter slider, you can use control, actually alt. Yeah, holding alt and dragging here will kind of giving the same value for all the selected objects. And you can do the same thing using for the path index. For example, I have these two guys have path index of 1, these two have path index of 2. If I select all of them at the same time, and then I hold alt and then just drag this to whatever number, now this objects have the same pass index. So that's very handy. And you can also type it in if you hold Alt and then click on it and then just type in whatever number, like 777. And then now if you check, all these three objects have the pass index of 777. So that's very handy. Originally, I was gonna kind of change the pass index using Sverchok. That's actually possible as well, of course. It's not actually that hard. Maybe I should just show it to you. This is maybe you need to do this, maybe you don't, but still kind of interesting. So pass index is very easy to access. You just type in here pass index. That's actually the attribute name. You can double check here. So you can see in the data path it says pass_index. So you can just pipe in the objects, and then you can now pipe in any number here, and that's, you see it's changing the pass index for this guy. You can even randomize it if you like. I don't know, for whatever reason, but I think randomize the number for pass index is also possible. Maybe here we need to list join it beforehand. Let's check it out. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. So that's random number, 4 random number for this guy. So yeah, seems like it's being applied when we scrub the frame. So just like another idea there, like I said, things like Sverchok or animation nodes can be very expressive. They are nodes, but the nodes can actually goes into the parameter. So I found it very interesting. Even though this is not a common workflow, but if I ever use like Blender, even in production, if I want to do something like a quick randomizations that I can still control using nodes, it's not like a once-off Python script. Well, you can type in Python script as well, but sometimes this is actually much faster. And if you ever like you want to randomize the color for compositor or for material, I think this is actually quite valid kind of trick. Yeah, maybe in the future live noding I will also cover some more like compositor and maybe cycles material nodes trick. It's gonna be kind of interesting. Yeah, so I guess that's pretty much it for this live noding. Let me know what you think. Maybe you have something to add in terms of why I'm getting this. There's like a slight pixel coloring issue there. Maybe I need to do something there with alpha and multiplier. But so far, this is kind of like me trying to understand this index object or the pass index attribute for the objects. Well, anyway, that's pretty much it for this live noding. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.